All right, y'all. This is another episode of the B-Side. Remix your song and live out your dream. I'm your DJ B-Side. Before we get started, want to remind everyone to go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more videos, hit the notification, and also hit the like button if you like what you hear or see. Even if you don't, hit the like button anyway. So I wanted to introduce my guest, Wes Averhart. Welcome, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity as well. How I know Wes is through a friend of mine, his brother, Sean. And Sean reached out to me and he was like, hey, man, I would love for you to interview my brother. He has a compelling story to share. It's a story of redemption. So, Wes, first off, thank you, brother, for joining my show.
Hey, thank you, man.
Wes, what brings you to my show, brother?
What brings me to your show today, brother, is I feel it's power in everybody's story, and it's definitely some power in mine. So, I grew up in the city of Chicago, from the west side to the south side. I eventually ended up in the suburbs, South Holland, and growing up, life is about choices and decisions, and I made a lot of bad choices and a lot of bad decisions. And by the time I was 25 years old, I was still heavily involved in gangs and drinking and smoking all day. And I found myself serving 17 years in the California State Prison for killing a man. And while I was incarcerated, I took the opportunity, to improve my life. And once I began the process of improving my life, I was watching myself improve the lives around other individuals around me. So I definitely know my path now, and I understand my purpose now versus who I was in the past and who I am today.
Okay. So you said you definitely understand your path and your purpose. What is that? What does that look like?
My path now is, I'm all about rehabilitation. I understand, we have to re-educate ourselves because if we don't execute the law of replacement and eliminate all the negative that we learn a lot of destructive ways. And a lot of destruction was involved in my life and a lot of my decision making. And I had to execute the law of replacement. And once I began to execute the law of replacement, then I began to let's improve my decisions, improve my life. Now the path I'm on now, I wish to be a drug addiction counselor and one day own multiple homes to help individuals who have suffered from addiction, individuals who've been previously incarcerated, and hopefully, I can get them the coping skills to deal with certain situations and emotions and things they may experience in society, things I didn't have prior to me being incarcerated. Now the actual course I'm on right now is I've been accepted to Cal State Fullerton out here in the state of California. I'm currently enrolled, and I intend to attain my business administration degree within the next 2 years.
That's awesome. Hey, can you I've never heard that terminology you just mentioned. You mentioned the word, the law of replacement.
Absolutely.
Can you break that down? What does that mean?
Yes, sir. Okay. The law of replacement. It's when I'm eliminating all my bad habits, all those shortcomings, and in the moment, right, readdressing them, right. Practicing spiritual principles. Like before I wasn't righteous, I was unrighteous. Before I wasn't forgiven, now I'm forgiven. See, I'm replacing everything, the negative with the positive. Before I was selfish, now I'm unselfish. And when you begin to do those things, you begin to make better decisions because you understand your purpose.
What do you think? Maybe you can talk about it in terms of yourself individually, or maybe just as a whole, however, how you want to answer it. But what do you think, or how do you think led to that path that led you to be in that situation 17 years ago?
I would say low self-esteem. I grew up with very low self-esteem, all throughout high school, all the way through elementary school, and that played a huge role in how I felt about myself, and I allowed other people to control how I felt about myself. And I associate with other people who had low self-esteem. So we pretty much, that pretty much allowed us to feel some level of comfort. And we always felt compelled to do more. Me feeling inadequate and things of that nature actually drove my impulses. And actually growing up with a sense of undeveloped responsibility, that actually puts you in a place where you don't understand, your actions.
What caused that low self-esteem?
what caused that low self-esteem. Growing up, I had buck teeth. I was a bedwetter. And that pretty much like plagued me for a long time. And I responded to that by using anger, aggression, and violence. Those became my coping skills as I got older. So I just felt compelled to like respond to people with. I took that as a sign of being disrespectful, not knowing that was me not being able to deal with my emotions.
What led you go to that path as a response to that low self-esteem?
Oh, as of that path, like when I was experiencing those feelings and those emotions, my parents had separated early. My father, he was present and he wasn't present. I still had communications with my mother, but at the same time, by the time I turned 13 years old and I was still suffering from those insecurities, the gang fed those insecurities. What I mean? They became my new family. In the city of Chicago, the gangs are prevalent, it's violent in the communities. And I allowed that to be one of the things that flourished within my life. What I mean? I felt compelled to do more. We got this thing called obsession, compulsive progression. And that's what I fed into. I obsessed over that lifestyle and I felt compelled to do more because I embraced how they was treating me. That gave me a sense of love, fighting somebody or going over here beating them up or pulling a gun on somebody. I felt compelled to do more because of the accolades and the data boys or you're a real one or you're a day one. Just listen to that. I identified with that as love. And that progressed to the point where it got out of hand and I murdered a man.
So what's interesting when I hear that is it goes back to my experience as a mentor. It's called Big Brother, Big Sister. I had an opportunity to mentor a young man who was going the same path as what you mentioned before. And I think he was around that same age, a little younger than 13. I want to say maybe 11, 12, something like that. And he was going down that same path. His father was locked up and he had some aggression issues. I spent time to sit with him. I was like, hey, man, what do you like to do, man? What is your passion? Like, what are you interested in? The thing that I heard was something about cooking. And, and I just kind of laid it out for him. Like, hey, man, if you like cooking, you can do this and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, go to college and this and that. But you're a special dude, man. And it's weird, Wes, when I told him that, immediately there was a turn. There was an immediate turn in his demeanor and things like that. And make a long story short, I think after the program was over with, I heard years later, he ended up graduating from high school and going to college and all that stuff. And so when I hear that, Wes, in your story, we have to play a role in encouraging our children and encouraging our younger generation in a constructive way. And not every household is going to have, mom and dad in the house. Every household is not going to have that Brady Bunch and Huxtable household and stuff like that. I get that. But I think what is very important is that our children, our younger generation just has that mentor, that father figure, mother figure that can tell them, you're special. What is your passion? Just sit and just talk to them. And it's like, hey, what is your passion? What do you like to do? And just give them a ear for them to talk to, or give them a listening ear. So, but it sounds like with your story, unfortunately that reinforcement to your sense of security came from, the group of people or the gangs, if you will, and ended up, in that certain path. So I didn't mean to kind of go on that tangent, but when you mentioned that, it was just so clear to me that, it's just so important that we plant positive seeds to our younger generation because, they're going to get that influence from somewhere. You hear about people that get, locked up for a while or get locked up for wherever, how long. But then you also hear about them going back. And it's kind of like this revolving door where they get out and they go back. They get out and they go back. So my question is, what causes them to make certain decisions to go back? And then, as a follow-up question to that, what does it take for them to stay out?
Okay. What I've seen throughout my 17 years incarceration, the guys that come back, see, first of all, I like to say, I'm an individual who had to go through the board. So it was even harder for me to get out. I had to sit in there and talk for 2 hours and tell them who I was, how I became the person I am today, and speak towards my past. They're not planning for their freedom. 99.9% of the individuals who go back to prison, they're not planning for their freedom. You know, if you don't plan to succeed, you don't plan to be successful, you planning to fail. You know, that's why it's such a revolving door. See, the thing is, all right, if you don't take advantage of the opportunities while you in prison, like prison offer college free. College is free. School is free. Education is free. Vocation is free. Right. I got multiple vocations, multiple associate's degrees from college, and I'm an addiction specialist counselor. See, I took advantage of everything that was in front of me. So if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, what are you taking advantage of? Life is going to take advantage of you because you're susceptible to anything. You still easily influenced. You still got the same association, and you ain't changed the way you think. So you definitely ain't changed your views or your perspectives.
So it sounds like, you know, it really comes down to a choice. And Absolutely. It sounds like that choice comes down to, you know, either what kind of support base that you have, or it really just comes down to you individually, because the thing that God gives us is free will. And Absolutely. So either we're going to choose to go right, or we're going to choose to go left. And fortunately, brother, it sounds like that you have chosen the right path to change your life. So walk us through as to when you realize this ain't worth it, I need to go down the right path. Kind of walk us through that.
Okay, it was I just got a write-up in 2015. I was at Ironwood State Prison, and you know, I lost 90 days, you know, of my freedom. Every time you get a write-up, it's a high probability they're gonna take some time from you. And that had been the third time I got some time taken from me. And I was looking to get released 2030. You know, so I just said, man, I got to do something different. So I decided to enroll in college the fall of 2015, because I seen the ones who actually going to school and going to the programs. Not only was that being beneficial to them, a lot of them guys were going home. So once I turned the page, man, and started doing something productive in my life, going to church in there, speaking to the Christian brothers in there, you know what I mean, just acknowledging and reading my Bible and you know, being blessed, you know what I mean, with a wife and having a woman so spiritual to come in my life, right? I was able to change my views, my perspectives, and I began to live for me, because I was living for everybody else. I gave the game so many years of my life. I gave so many people so many years of my life. It was time for me to be selfish in my recovery, because if I can't help myself, I can't help nobody else.
On the outside looking in, you know, I always wondered, like, do folks think long term? You know what I'm saying? Like when they commit a crime, or before they decide to commit a crime, like, do they think long term? Like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to be locked up for the rest of my life, and I probably won't see the outside world for a long time. And clearly there's a lot of folks that don't do that. But then again, me on the outside looking in, I have not walked that path. I just find it fascinating on how folks just don't think consequence, don't think long term. Does that come down, Wes, to live by the moment?
It's absolutely zero foresight. Zero. You responded on lack of impulse control, poor impulse control, disregard for authorities. You know, that's the state of mind you got, because then become your coping skills. You know, when you grow up with an underdeveloped sense of responsibility, meaning that when you do make choices and decisions, you're not taking into account the response. You're not taking into account the consequences. So therefore, you're just constantly on impulse. And that's what that leads to. When you grow up without a sense of responsibility, as a teen, as a young adult, you definitely gonna make bad choices and bad decisions, and you respond in the moment. Now, right. and that also stems from a lack of emotional intelligence. It's the greatest form. It's the greatest form of empathy in the world. You know, it consists of 5 components. You have self-awareness, not just how you feel, but how other people feel. Because as long as you understand how you feel and understand those feelings as they develop, you make better decisions in the moment. Then second, you have self-management, being able to manage those emotions. Then you have self-motivation. You constantly striving and motivating yourself to do better. You know what I mean? And you want more for those around you. And fourthly, you have social wellness, which is empathy. You know, because you will never harm nobody because you won't be harmed yourself. You look to others as you look to yourself. So therefore, that's a such thing called I would not harm thy brother, I would not harm thy mother. So and in 5, you have interpersonal communication. Every relationship you have in life is not going to be the same. The relationship you have with your mother is not going to be the same relationship you have with your father. But you also have to communicate with these two people, and you have to be mindful that it also has to be respectful. And when you apply all 5 of those components, you have emotional intelligence. If you fall short of just one of them, you do not have emotional intelligence. Applying all 5 components all the time allows you to be self-aware and make better decisions in a moment, and you'll live a more prominent lifestyle. There's no way you could beat somebody up, rob somebody, harm somebody, threaten somebody, and say you have empathy for them, because empathy is the highest form of concern. Yeah, you can't do that. It's impossible.
So how does one incorporate emotional intelligence when they are in the moment?
Well, I call it it's coined the Socrates theory. You know, when you experience emotion, ask yourself why you feel that way. If you're feeling sad, ask yourself why you're feeling sad. You feeling happy? You know why you're feeling happy. When you're feeling inadequate, ask yourself why you're feeling inadequate. And if you have another question you need to ask, constantly ask yourself till you get the origin. The only way you can move past something, right, is to get to the origin, the root of why you feel that way, because you have a better understanding. And one thing about you having an understanding, right, it's not a repeated cycle. You understand what to do in the moment now. That's why when I get angry now, I deal with my anger in the moment, because I understand like this too shall pass. There's no need for me to lash out or get bitter or be bold. Like when I got out of prison, I told my brothers, told my sisters, I said, listen, y'all, it's one thing y'all don't know about me now, you know, and my anger in the past took control of me, and I allowed that anger to be aggressive, and I just got violent because I became a very violent person. Now I said, I don't care if y'all get irate, talk crazy. I'm still going to be calm, because all it takes is one person to not lose their composure, and things will diffuse themselves. All it takes for 2 people to have intense conversations, and they can escalate,
right,
and definitely get out of hand. I got something I call, like I wrote to the board, right? I did a 8-page relapse prevention plan. I got something I use called STAR. Stop, you know what I mean? S, stop, think, assess, and then respond. If I'm stopping, right, I'm processing what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? Then I'm thinking like, what should I do? How should I respond to it? Then I'm assessing my decisions, and then I'll be able to respond kindly though, because I want to ensure myself that, you know, I'm still living by my spiritual principles. So therefore, that is do no harm. Like those insecurities, all those bad behaviors, all those are developed from the age from 8 to 13. You know, so here's a coping skill for them. You know, if you're in a community this crime ridden, violence is prevalent, you need to get your kids in CGA. CGA is Criminal Gang Anonymous. Criminal Gang Anonymous.
Now, is that nationwide? Criminal Gang Anonymous?
It's something that we started within the institutions, but it's something that, you know what I mean, I want to bring to the streets.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's a 12-step program. Criminal Gang Anonymous, called CGA.
Okay.
You know, and I also want everybody to get their kids involved in AVP. It's an alternative to violence program. Alternative to violence program. You utilize the transforming powers. You know, that's something else that I taught while I was in prison. See, the thing is, these are small, subtle things, right, that we could do to just help the kids just a little bit, you know, before they take on those bad and destructive behaviors to lead them down the path of destruction. If those could be implemented from the age to 8 to 13, you wouldn't have so much chaos in the city of Chicago, Detroit, all in the South, and, you know, people would be more mindful of their actions, right? Because we giving them the coping skills. These are groups that I taught in prison. They actually are well-known groups.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In society today, alternative violence program, that is a full-blown nonprofit organization. CGA is just something we came up with in prison. The inmates, us as inmates, I'm an ex-inmate, we came up with that in prison.
Okay. So people outside of the prison system can have access to these programs?
Absolutely. That's something that I want to bring to my own program. Prison is something that actually, if you take advantage of your time, man, it really allows you to transition, man, to become a better person, man. And for a long period of my life, man, you know, I was so destructive, I couldn't even identify with myself until I start paying attention to some of the things that I was doing. You know, when you wake up one day, you be like, damn, did I do that? Man, I just didn't care. You know, I can recall a time when I was in the county jail looking at initially I was looking at 176 years to life. And at that time, at a particular time in my life, I was telling the COs in there, like, man, I don't care what I'm looking at this. What you want to do? Like, I'm just paying attention to how like callous I was and how careless I was. You know, what really trips me out every day, right? Is I was just telling my friend of mine today and my little brother, like, when I look down at my shoes and my clothes, right? Like, I'm not wearing them prison blues no more. That amazes me. When I wake up in the morning, man, I'll be so excited to see I'll be so excited to see something other than prison blues outside of that wall, man. Come on, man. That's a feeling that you just don't never want to go away. Never, man. And that's why, you know what I mean, a lot of my guys still in prison, man. You know, I'm praying for them, hoping they're in there still doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Doing them groups, staying consistent in their rehabilitation and taking their life serious, man. Because that's one thing we didn't do when we was out the first time.
Right.
We didn't take our life serious. We didn't take nobody serious. It's the reason why authority figures were created.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you got to realize, like, this is what I realized. Without order, without structure, it's chaos. You know, and I was part of the chaos and I was part of the problem. And now I want to be part of the solution. You know, and it took a long time for me to even get to that point. I was almost 40 years old before I even started thinking like that. When I began the process of educating myself, then I began to think different. I began to respond different. I'm like, oh, I can't be doing that. There's guys out there 25 years old out there on the street and they holding executive positions at corporate 500 companies. And here I am still thinking, you know, this gang stuff still really means something. So you got to, life consists of like what you value, because whatever you value, you naturally have an emotional connection to it.
Right.
If you value life, you value family, you know what I mean? You value the finer things and like materialistic things personally, bro. Like, I don't really value that stuff because I know at the end of the day, right? When I go home to the Father, it ain't gonna come to me.
Coming with you, right?
It ain't coming with me. You know what I mean? But it's nice to have. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have. But do I value it? Absolutely not. Do I aspire to have it and achieve it? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? Right. I aspire to live financially secure versus financially stable. Stable puts you in a position where you just maintaining what you have.
Right.
Security gives you that blanket. If you lose your job, your wife gets sick, you get sick, something happens major in the family, financial crisis, then you got this overwhelming amount of money to help you pay some of these bills, whether one of y'all get laid off for a year or two or not. You know, so it ain't about the wealth for me, brother. You know what I mean? I'm doing it, you know what I mean, because you know I just feel it'd be beneficial, you know what I mean, to try to do something productive and positive, and all those good things, all the blessings gonna continue to come.
Well, you know, end of the day, we all know who is our source when it comes to finances. We all know who is our provider. So it doesn't really matter, you know, how much or how little money that we have. We all know who is the true provider. And as long as we lean on that, we all good.
He allowing us to occupy this earth. You know, everything we get is a gift. Yep. That's what people need to realize. Everything we receive, from every breath that you take, that is a gift, my Lord. That is a gift.
Every day you wake up is a gift.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. When they ask me a group at the transition housing, right, what are you grateful for, right? You know, I tell them, I'm grateful for waking up this morning. They be so surprised and amazed, like, yeah, I'm grateful for waking up in the morning. I could have woke up in prison. Yep. Or I couldn't have woke up at all, because I know every day somebody don't wake up.
People will be amazed if, like, for me, I do a journal every single day. There was a challenging time that I went through a few years back, and it led me to doing a daily journal on the things that I'm grateful for. And in this journal, I challenge myself every single day to write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And it can be, even if it's the worst day, I can say, to your point, Wes, all right, point number one, I woke up this morning. I could have woke up dead. Point number two, I have my wife sitting next to me. I could not have a wife. Point number three, I had breakfast this morning. Point number four, I had lunch. Point number five, and you know, it goes on and on.
Absolutely.
And what happens is you develop muscle memory to look at life with your glass of water half full. So muscle memory, such as like when you're practicing a jump shot, like Steph Curry, he has a routine where he practices shooting hundreds upon hundreds of jump shots. And that's why he's such a good jump shooter now. And it's the same thing psychologically when we journal what we're grateful for every day. So no matter what challenges that we encounter, and even if we're in a situation where we'll have to exercise that STARS technique that you mentioned, well, we'll already have that muscle memory to look at things with a glass of water half full where it's like, you know what? I don't even need to be in this situation because I'm blessed either way. So I think that's really important. And I think that's great that you do that, brother. So what you just told me sounds like it should be in a book. And I understand that you actually are working on a book.
I'm in the process of putting it all together now. It consists of my life story, everything I did before prison, while I was in prison, and what I did to get out of prison. And it also consists of my psych evaluation in prison, and some of the questions that the board posed to me. But yeah, absolutely, man. It's definitely insightful, informative, and I think a lot of people need to read it, man.
Your goal is around drug addiction and managing rehabilitation homes. What made you want to do those things? I mean, there's people that want to go many different paths when they get released, but what made you want to do that?
What made me want to do that, man, is I never knew that was something that I would be good at. One day, a friend of mine in prison, right? I think his name was Dashio Keefe, Dominique's Tanks. They asked me to like facilitate some groups, seeing I had such great responses within those groups. And the first group I facilitated, a couple of the guys after I got done came up to me and said, "Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Your inspiration." I'm like, ain't nobody never talked to me like that before in my life. So hearing these young guys in prison walk up to me and say that to me, I'm like, man, what? I had that. I affected you like that. I impacted your life like that. So that's something I had to reflect on, because I understand every day is about self-discovery, and I was discovering stuff about myself through other people. So the worst thing you could do, right, is have knowledge and not give it back. Have information and not give it back. Have coping skills and not give it back.
Right. What's ironic of you mentioning that when some of the guys came up to you and complimented on what you did is very similar to a lot of my other episodes on how a lot of my guests uncovered their passion, uncovered their talents. Someone came up to them and say, "Hey, man, you're good at what you just did. I like what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing." And it's one of those things where it's just like, you kind of had an aha moment. And it just kind of gives you that self-esteem, right? And enough fuel, it gives you that self-esteem where you had that fuel where you're like, you know what? Let me try this again. Let me do it again. Let me take it to the next level. So I noticed you have a ring on your finger, and you mentioned that you have a wife. So what role has your wife played in all this?
Man, she's been a huge inspiration, motivation, and definitely a spiritual advisor in my life, man. She came in my life in 2016. We've been knowing each other since high school. It just so happened, when I reached out to the sister this time, she was receptive. And by 2017, we just naturally had this born love for each other. Something that was so natural. And we got married June 4th, 2018. She's been a godsend, and I asked for it. I asked God for everything I got today, right? I asked for it. I asked him to send me a wife, who be strong, supportive, who's a strong Christian sister, who would pick me up whenever I fall, and I'll be willing to do the same for her. Because I understand, with purpose, man, like with purpose comes responsibility. And I just love what I do now. Even at the halfway house I'm at now, man, I just love to give back. And like I said, my wife, she's been a beacon of light. She's been a beacon of light, man.
That is amazing. And I'm happy for you, brother. And to my brothers out here that are listening, and really just anyone, but I'm just want to mostly, just to the fellas, those that has goals and are reaching for success, and at the same time you desire a spouse. You just can't have a spouse just to have a spouse. So I go back to a buddy of mine. A buddy of mine told me back in college, and he was way ahead of his time. I mean, he was already like looking to get married, and I'm like running around doing ever. And I asked him, like, man, what is it, about finding a wife, man? Like what is it that when I want to get married, like, what is it I should look for? You know what I'm saying? And he said something that I never forgot, and I still remember to this day. And clearly this applies to you. He was like, Brent, you can always find a woman that's good to you. I mean, any woman can just pretend that, you know, they want to do this for you, cook for you, or whatever. Okay, that's great. But that keeper is the one that's good for you. And that is clearly what it sounds like, what you have. Someone that is good for you. Now, granted, I'm sure that she's good to you as well, you know, because that's your wife. But most importantly, she is good for you. And I can certainly attest to that, to, you know, some struggles that I've been through in my life. And, you know, my wife has definitely been good for me, and she's definitely challenged me in certain areas that I needed to be challenged. And that is so critical in success. So my late congratulations. And, you know, I just continue to pray for just continued growth in your marriage and things like that, man. And congratulations, man. I'm happy for you. Where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now, man?
I said 5 years from now, I've been attained my BA. I'll be a full-blown certified drug addiction specialist. And you know, I have a few houses, you know, transitional houses. Still doing what I'm doing now, man. Just helping out the individuals currently getting released from prison. Still talking to those that are incarcerated, motivating them, inspiring them, helping them in their transition with board. See, currently right now, there's a few individuals I know within the prison system still, and I'm helping them helping them with their relapse prevention plan timeline. I'm helping individuals get support letters, helping them find transitional homes. Just that continuous support, man. Because sometimes you need somebody, man, to be family up there, a good friend or associate, man, just to keep those spirits high.
Right.
You know, me, I had a lot of strong family support, you know, so, you know, the board was like, you know, they definitely looked at that as something that, you know, would benefit me in society.
You know, another thing that I find fascinating about, you know, folks that are locked up is there's a lot of locked up hidden talent in our prison systems. And the reason that I say that is I used to watch a show called MSNBC Lockup. And in MSNBC Lockup, they would go to different prison systems and they would just kind of walk you through the day-to-day prison life, and they would interview different inmates and things like that. But there was one particular episode that has stuck out to me to this day. And that was an episode about the talent that is in the prison systems, the talents that these inmates have that they uncovered while being locked up. There was one gentleman where all he had was some homemade pencil, somehow he made a pencil or something and made the most beautiful artwork. There was another guy where he had some bars of soap and some kind of pen and did a sculpture of it just looked like artwork. There was another guy who made a homemade electrical guitar. And there was another guy, he learned how to invest in the stock market. He knew how to look at the technical analysis of stocks and things like that. And he would pick winners like most of the time. And it was fascinating, but it was also sad. It was sad because a lot of these dudes, they're probably going to be locked up for the rest of their life or for a really long time. And society is not going to see that talent. They're not going to be able to show their talents to society. And the happy part is some do get out. Like what I hear about the brother that invests in the stock market. I hear that he's doing some things. And there's a brother, his name is Jeff Henderson. And he got locked up for a drug charge and things like that. But during the course of his sentence, he discovered a talent for cooking. And he understood that he liked to cook. So then he got released with good behavior. He ended up working as a chef in LA. He moved to Las Vegas. And, you know, right now he's in Caesar's Palace and earning top recognition and rewards. So it sounds to me that this is a similar story to you, where you uncovered your talent and encouraging, fellow inmates and giving them that sense of positive self-image that was lacking in their lives.
It's a lot of undiscovered talents in there, man. Like I said, man, every day is about self-discovery. You get to discover something new about your life every day. You just got to take an opportunity, just pay attention. I definitely read my Bible, though.
Any particular scriptures that either stick out, or ones that, if there is one or a couple of scriptures that you routinely go back to, like what would those be?
It's one that I apply daily. He said, "Be angry, but do not sin. Nor let the sun go down in your wrath, nor give place to the devil."
Yes.
For a long period of my life, that's exactly what I did. I sinned. I actually committed the physical act, actually hurting somebody. So the sun definitely went down on my wrath daily, due to poor decision making and just being irresponsible, man. Just being irresponsible and not taking the time to just process my thoughts and taking other people's feelings in consideration. It was just all about me. And that's what happens when you become such a selfish person. You become self-consumed, careless, and you just don't care about other people and how they feel.
I do encourage you to don't allow the spirit of condemnation to take over you. Again, the past is the past. Behold, I have done a new thing. Meaning that God is saying, hey, I have redeemed you from the past, and this is the new thing. And I believe that God has a path for you, and you already know that. He has great things for you. So I just encourage you, man, to just don't allow that spirit of condemnation and guilt to come upon you, man. He's forgiven you of that. And you got a great wife, man, that sounds like that she will keep you on the up and up, man. So I just wanted to, encourage you on that, brother.
Absolutely appreciate that. And she definitely keeps the brother on the up and up. You know what I mean?
Man, you got a good woman, man. You got you a keeper.
Wrong.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely, man. When you get somebody to challenge you like intellectually, mentally like that, is willing to grow with you spiritually, man, and challenge you. It's definitely a relationship, something built for a lifetime.
I just want to thank you for being a guest on my show. I haven't had this opportunity since I was in the prison ministry years ago. I was part of the Pen Pal ministry, where I would write to inmates and give them encouragement and be a listening ear via on paper or whatever. And I miss that. And this is my way of getting back to that in some kind of way. I'm looking forward to what the next chapters look like in your life, brother. And once again, I really appreciate you, being on my show, brother.
And like I said, man, I appreciate this opportunity. It definitely was a blessing, brother. You've been a godsend to allow me to be here with you today. It's actually, all praise due to God, our Lord Jesus Christ, man, for me being out here today. I was scheduled to come home 2031. That went to 2027. SB 1308 passed in 2017. They applied in 2018. I was able to go to board in 2020. I was found suitable. I'm home free now. I'm definitely looking forward to the opportunity to continue to live my life. I know the steps I need to. I know the steps that I need to take to where I need to get to where I need to go now. As before in my past, I was just walking around with my head cut off.
You are a testimony, and I look forward to hearing about more testimonies, more success stories on the people that you're reaching out to. I cannot do this alone. My show is as good as the guest on my podcast, man. And you are certainly a testimony, man. And I really appreciate you being on the show. As a reminder to my listeners, please subscribe to this channel for more videos. Make sure you hit the like button if you like what you hear. Even if you don't, hit the like button anyway, as well as hit the notification. As always, my name is DJ B-Side on the B-Side Show with my special guest, Wes Averhart. Remix your song and live out your dream. This is the B-Side Show. And thank y'all for joining me and Wes. Thank y'all.
So thank y'all, man. We appreciate it.